camera equipment should not be sticky. Hey everyone, Sticky Thumbtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Future project over here, EVOL. Future is an Atlanta rapper and auto-tune addict crooner, and he's been having a pretty amazing year so far. Pretty amazing past couple of 365 days. Really ever since he dropped his last big commercial project, Dirty Sprite 2. Ever since he came out with that thing, it's like he's reached god levels of popularity. It's like all the pressure that he built up with these really well-received mixtapes just exploded upon impact of that record. And even though I've just really hated Future's past efforts, even I was won over a little bit by Dirty Sprite 2. It had a very druggy, moody aesthetic to it that I liked a lot. My issue, though, was that there just wasn't really too much to this project beyond that aesthetic, beyond that very cool vibe that it had. Future's been seeing a lot of success with this incredibly simple, straightforward, obvious formula. Lethargic, mumbly, laid-back, auto-tune vocals, very skeletal, simple, trap-flavored instrumentals that have moody melodies laced throughout, very, very repetitive song structures, emphasizing either just a vocal hook or just a particular word or line that he repeats every line, every other line, just to kind of just keep the earworm factor going in his music, to keep this stuff stuck in your head. Even though I don't love it a lot of the time, it is evocative and makes me imagine Future swimming through a sea of cough syrup-laced Sprite. And that's very much the case for this new project over here. Future, once again, is in the same creative headspace that he was on his last big commercial project. He's not about to just give up this sound that he's seen so much success with. Even though it seems like there are so few things he can actually do with it, or so few things he chooses to do with it. It's like his ambitions aren't really pushing him far enough to do anything refreshing with this sound, especially on his last mixtape, Purple Rain, where that project really sounded like a bunch of DS2 leftovers, just completely unkempt, uncleaned, and with a lot of crappy DJ drops thrown on top. And in a way, EVOL feels like DS2 leftovers too, maybe just DS2 afterthoughts, but they do seem like they're more well-groomed. In a lot of ways, I would actually say that this project is on par with DS2 quality-wise. All the pros of DS2 carry over onto this thing. But there's no chance of EVOL becoming as notorious as DS2 because it just kind of continues to play with this sound that Future has already established at this point. Still, though, there are lots of songs here that would be the perfect soundtrack to some bad decisions being made on some good drugs. I like the very eerie and nocturnal XANNY family. Future kind of taking a detour from his drug of choice to rap about, again, the illegal drug trade, sex, money. Yeah, that's really his MO. That's his thing. There's also kind of a creepy factor on the opening track, Ain't No Time. There are a lot of skeletal songs here that I tend to favor over the heavier, hard-hitting tracks because with those songs being so loud, being so in your face, they kind of remind me of how basic and undercooked the structures of these songs are. Just skip to any point in any number of these tracks, and you'll probably hear Future repeating the same flow, you'll hear the same instrumental loop, you'll hear the same melody. There's really not anything in terms of progression to many of these songs. After all, a lot of these tracks just kind of fade out or stop suddenly when they're nearing the end of their runtime. Tracks like Lil Haiti Baby or In Her Mouth, both tracks as well where Future delivers some of his worst vocal performances. As I said, the pros of DS2 carry over onto this thing, and so do the cons. Future's voice and his vocal performances have not improved. He's still a garbage singer. Some of his melodies are completely crummy, and what melodies on this thing he does pull through with that are decent, he can't really push them beyond one little tiny redundant ditty that he recycles ad nauseum. And the lyrics, once again, are pretty shallow and one-dimensional, not really much going on there, although they are worth reading into at least once if you're going to listen to this thing for a good laugh. It's sort of an ugly collision of trashiness and extravagance that I find kind of funny. But not so funny that it's a joke that I would return to, nor do I even really think it's supposed to be a joke. I kind of feel bad for anybody who reads into Future's lyrics and thinks, oh yeah, he's so cool, neato stuff, so cool, swag, so cool, so dope, cool. Of course, on this project too, the ballads fall flat, like on the song Lie to Me. The song Low Life works as a ballad, but only because of an appearance from The Weeknd. One of the few moments where I'm actually seeing a Weeknd feature, and I'm like, yes, thank God. Just break up the monotony of Future's voice, yes. And I do like a lot of the instrumentals here, like on the very harmonious and layered and dramatic Fly shit only, but I feel like all the positives that I could bring up with this record, all the negatives I could bring up with this record, I've already brought up with DS2. This thing is kind of like a DS2 rehash, a DS2 sequel. And once again, I see the appeal, especially in a handful of cuts that I think appeal to me. For what reason, I'm not completely sure. I mean, I can pick up aesthetic qualities to these tracks, but they all kind of sound boring when you have to listen to them one after another in an 11-track succession. I guess with Future's music, it's best to just be doing something else more fun than sitting down and listening to Future's music. It's kind of like ambient hip-hop in a way. You know, it's just supposed to hang in the background while you're doing something that you could be potentially arrested for. It won't distract you from your illegal activity. It's not too loud or interruptive to the point where anybody's going to be calling anybody over like a noise ordinance or anything like that. You know, it's just hanging back there, setting the mood. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this thing. Transition! Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You the best? You the best? What should I review next? Future, EVOL, forever.